Welcome back to Exploring Distant Worlds. We have jumped forward just far enough to finish the spaceport on Akuro. You can see we're starting to get some freighter activity here, and there's going to be a lot more action that comes as a result of this. It's just been finished, which is why we do have this resource shortage warning that will go away very soon, but you can see all components normal. Now, there were quite a few comments that people had made and questions after the last episode. I do want to get into some of those, but also I want to look at some new exploration that has happened, because we now know where the ancient guardians are. They're in this yellow area. You can see much smaller sphere of influence. And we're going to dive in here to the Tond system. Thankfully, of course, they do not expand. But you can look at their planet here, which is always Utopia. You can see 100% quality, almost a maximum size. It's always a very special system. And of course, this is going to be off limits for us permanently. Unless we really wanted to get insane with the late game fleet and go after them, we're not going to bother with any of that nonsense. So, 16 billion people. We can see, okay, they have the Loros fruit and various other resources, 180% development. And look at the Ancient Galactic Archives. This thing it's pretty special. Gives them a 50% development bonus boost and doubles their colony income. You can see that's at almost $1 million a year. And then we can see all the various facilities they have, etc. So there's basically just a big go away sign on that. Now, almost as interesting, to me at least, is over here in Helu, because this is the only other system, it's the closest system to them, only other one within their sphere of influence. This is where the Tikan colony ship was found. So that's a bit suspicious, but also down here, and there was somebody that pointed this out as well, the Temple of Eternal Blackness, this is where we got the Way of Darkness government type from. So the fact that that's so close to the Ancient Guardians, who are, Way of the Ancients type of government, the antithesis of that, is really interesting. Is there something suspicious about the Ancient Guardians? And maybe even the Tikans as well. That I'll leave for the viewer to decide for now. Now, the other, of course, special in here was also mentioned by some viewers, the Garden of Arcadia. And that has a happiness bonus of 10%. It'd be great to get that for the whole empire. But given that it's in foreign territory, and specifically in Ancient Guardian territory, if it's in other foreign territory of another empire, maybe we'd get to it eventually. But not in here. So we're pretty much, that's off limits. We can forget about it. And for our purposes, it's not even going to exist. Now, over here, we have the Shandar Utopia. We've discovered them. And then in this region over here, I don't know exactly where they are, but we met some ships in the Piccoon system here, far to the right of Utrantu Collective, and they are addicts of the Katame Dominion. So that's two new empires that we met off screen. Let's take a look at some of our diplomacy here. There's the Katame Dominion, and of course the Shandar are up here. Now, it's also worth noting, by the way, that we have this with every empire. If you look, they're all the same. They pretty much all give us that message, almost without exception. And the issue that they're upset with is refuse to trade valuable resources with us. We now have enough Zentabia fluid that they feel we should share the wealth. And that's always going to happen when you start harvesting super luxury resources. However, I'm not interested in sharing the wealth. I'm interested in keeping our economic advantage as long as we can. But if we try to hang on to this permanently and don't ever trade with them, it could reach a point where wars will be started over it. Wars were never started in our history for control of resources, were they? No, that's not a thing that happens. Totally unrealistic. Anyway, we're going to want to keep an eye on that scenario. So if we look at our comparisons here, you can see the Katame Dominion and Shandar Utopia currently 2 and 3 behind us in the rundown, especially the Katame of this big long red bar. They're doing very well with their Attic race victory conditions. They want to control their homeworld. That's a low bar, but they're doing well in population as well. Performing the least research, I'll be happy if they do well on that, and they're doing fairly well so far. And then they want to have the happiest population, but the Securans are beating them to the punch there. And then with the Shandar, they're doing much better on the happy population front. Volcanic colonies is a pretty easy one for them. They're not doing well at mining luxury resources, however. And the Lava Palace Resort Wonder is a very late game tech. I think it's at actually the very top end of the tech tree, if I remember correctly. So they are not going to get that anytime soon, and that's going to hold them back somewhat on their race victory conditions. Then I also want to look at some things regarding our colonies specifically. Now, on Reese, we are almost done with our wonder, the Bakuris high-speed shipyards. So I have queued up the Science Academy to go next, and we're investing some extra money in these, of course, which means less money for building new ships, although I did recently queue up another set of them. But that's just sort of the price we have to pay and, balance that out. Now, as far as Akuro goes, there's some things worth looking at our cargo. And actually, back on Reese, let's look at that Zentabia fluid they were talking about. There it is. And we have now over 1,000. We're probably safe to try and boost our taxes now and make use of all our happiness. And one of the reasons we would want to do this is the idea of migration. What is going to happen with our migration? Well, when you have more than one colony, the population can move in between, but you don't determine that directly. That's determined by the situation. In other words, I'm going to boost this one more percent. 57% is a lot of taxes, but I really want to use as much of this as I can and get as much income as possible. So the better the situation is on the target planet and the worse the situation is on the origin planet, the more likely people are going to be to shift. So things like having the population really close to maximum, not the case on Reese. The level of development, the level of taxes, all of those play a role. And then also how close they are together. Now we have a pretty good distance here. I think it's roughly a sector in between. So we're probably not going to see a lot of people move over here. But this is particularly important when you're starting off a colony fresh, not one like Akuro that already had the population there. But it does give me another motivation to have taxes reasonably high on Reese, along with obviously wanting to make as much money as possible, because that will encourage more people to shift. And now notice on Akuro also that our population growth is only 4%, and that's because we are just coming out of a shortage. And I will talk some more about this and show it more specifically when we do our next setup to colonize. As a matter of fact, we've got our next colony ship already headed down to Brax in the Buthuo system to make that happen. If we look at our resources here, each colony is going to consume both strategic and luxury resources. The key strategic resources and also just whatever they happen to want. So we only have Eucantia and Pearl in the luxury resource category, which is one of the reasons why development is down here. But we're going to eventually start shipping off more luxury resources now that they've got the strategic ones in. As long as you don't have, though, a sufficient supply of strategic resources for the population to consume, then you're going to have reduced growth rate and the economy is going to suffer. So now that we've got that under control, we will soon see a population growth boost up to something that actually should be higher pretty soon than Reese is. And that's, of course, because we knocked the taxes down to 0. Now, I did also recruit another infantry, because I always want to have the 2 infantry on every planet, make sure we're totally set against any raids that may perhaps occur. And then at this point, I do want to upgrade my shipyard over here, since we've gotten that first one in place. What I'm now going to do is move this to that next tier that we talked about, and we're going to make it a backwater. And then really what we're doing is we're waiting for our colony ship to get down to Brax, and also for a little bit more research to come in for us. And okay, Kerbis Pride has completed its mission. Okay, you were building this base with the luxury resources and also the dilithium in Drythus, so that's done. And let's see about giving you a new task then. I want to keep expanding where I am reasonably able to, and it's also worth noting, if we look at this, that the range for a lot of our possibility has now changed, because the distance given is the distance from our nearest colony. Well, we now have the colony in Akuro, so it's closer range for our freighters to go back and forth to that spaceport. And in Wantar then, not that far away, whereas this would have been quite a far away distance to go before, now it's actually very convenient for us. And we will get some more luxuries from there. Then the Sneaky Burden. Where are you going to head off to next? I think you're going to move here. Now also notice our Reese spaceport, all of these ships being piled up to build. And there's an explosion. They even were building freighters already while the Akuro colony was in place. But once that spaceport went up, they started building a bunch more. So we're going to want to allow that all to occur. And they're going to be building those fairly quickly. But it's probably not going to be too long until I do another expansion of that spaceport anyway. But for now, all of that is just going fine. And we are looking at... Okay, there goes our colony ship off, so all of that is working well. Okay, another exploration ship has finished its task. Let's see, let's go over this way. And another construction ship. Where are you? Okay, this is a big one. I thought we might get interrupted too much by pirates, but we have finished now our base on Buthawo 2, giving us that wonderful Zentabia fluid, and that should really increase the flow of that as our gas mining ships don't have to do the task. Okay, so let's find something else that perhaps we may want. Nephthys wine. We definitely could use some more of that. Okay, and you again are close by to Akuro. Alright, so I think I will send you off there. So we just keep giving a new task to all of our ships. You know, they complete one, and they move on. So we have a freighter problem. Well, this was decidedly dumb. They're trying to escape. Looks like they probably did. But Pulmonar is the headquarters of the Lone Pirates, one of the most powerful rival pirate factions that we have. Freighters going off there are asking for trouble. And unfortunately, I can't tell them not to do it. So it's just a matter of when I can clear them out. But of course, we got the Bakuris high-speed shipyards. Lovely picture there. Unique wonder that can only be built once in the galaxy, as we mentioned. So nobody else gets this. And we get our plus 20% to colony development on Reach. Should be able to jack the tax up even higher. And of course, the construction speed being a lot higher is really going to help us. The annual maintenance here is actually nothing we have to worry about because we're going to get more in income benefit than we are going to be spending out on this. So we're going to just check in on Reese then and see how it's doing. All right, indeed, we are up to about plus 23. So let's see. Let's try, I think let's try 63 for our taxes. And that, again, this sounds exorbitant, but we actually can probably bump it up one more to 64. That's going to bring it down to 15. I'm trying to maintain 16, so we'll go back down to 63. And if we look at our finances, just to make sure that's okay, I mean, we have over $1 million now in the private sector. So if we ever are sucking up so much cash that they simply can't do anything, we're going to have a lot of warning there to be able to see it. But also, we are getting additional income now from Ikuro into that, and we're not taxing any of it. So that's going to help them also. Okay, we have new pirates we've met. We've got new construction ship. Okay, you have finished. This was a station that I set up just to get more steel and also has a couple of other items. So all of that's going to be looking very good. And our continuing process of trying to expand out, I think I'm going to go here. Akuro Scott 1. And you can see, you know, it's pretty close to Akuro. It's a little bit up to the upper left of it. But if we come back up here and look at our Osalia, that's one of our, it is going up, but it's one of our lowest strategic resources. We don't have a ton of Aculon. You can see the amount of those is incredible. So I think that's worth putting the investment in there. And onward we go. Looks like we're about halfway down to Brax now. Okay, that is our Tekin colony ship, which is now in place, but I'm more focused on getting this system than I am using that, as nice as it would be to put that out there. And of course, I do have another colony ship that is coming as well, because I don't ever want to get to a point where I don't have a spare one ready. Nope, we will ignore all of that. Okay. Well, I like the monetary gifts. Thank you very much. And I'm not going to accept your territory swap, but I am potentially interested in something else. Let's see. I don't think we have yet. No, we don't have one yet. Let's consider getting a free trade agreement with you. You are a little bit positive with us now. And they eagerly accept. Try this delicious sample of Bokdur steak. Outstanding. And our ambassador was there, and they've even got something new. Trade income, actually. That's excellent. Now, I think I actually want to keep going here and eventually get a mutual defense pact, perhaps, with Kaidania. But I am happy to get that trade agreement in place as we continue our expansion of that goal. Let's make sure we're still doing, yep, everything's still doing great here. And look at our income. Really jacking up And we're going to, of course, have no problem using that. Okay, we have a construction ship under attack. And that is down here. And you are what? Okay, this is the Savage Sun, which are sort of the, unwanted guests. Again, they've been hanging out over here. We have not been going after them yet because they haven't been a problem. But now they're stopping us from expanding to a system that is actually technically in our territory. And I'm not too pleased with that. So I think we're going to probably try to pay some attention to them. But for the time being, we obviously have to leave Malthur alone. So why don't we just send you back after you escape? Let's wait for you to warp out. It's a little bit more intelligent way to go about it. Okay, and we're going to hold off on that for a second because we have completed our enhanced storage research. Why do we care? Well, hey, we're up here exploring the Shandar area. But now it is time for us to do our next round of ship designs. I did do some expansion of our spaceports. We did recently get with our expansion of ship size. We also upgraded the maximum capacity of all of our manufacturing plants. So I threw some more construction yards on our spaceports in order to take advantage of that. And also on the Reese one, I doubled the docking bays to 100, and that should be plenty for quite some time. Now, most of the redesign, though, is happening on our ships. All of these are new. I'm just going to look at a couple of the military ones. The patrol frigate, the key ones that we're using. Now, one item that played a really significant role in improving our designs, even more than I expected to, was that we captured an advanced destroyer from the Sinister Salvage Pirates in between episodes. And what we got from that deconstruction and retiring it was the Equinox hyperdrive. So we now have a hyperdrive that's one tier more advanced than we previously had with the Garax. And they're very similar in most respects. The Equinox is somewhat smaller. It's got a slightly less energy required. It has the same time to jump, 13 seconds, but the speed is much faster, 18,750 compared to 15,000, a 25% increase. And that doesn't just make us faster, it means that we require less fuel. So combine that with our better fuel storage now, and I was actually able to take off 2 of the 7 fuel cells on these ships and still increase their range. I could probably afford to take off even one more. And so that really increased the amount of space that we've got to put various items on. So we added another point defense cannon. I wanted to do that, make sure we're better defended against strike craft, and really increased our missiles along with putting on more engines and everything else you want to do when you scale up a ship. So we are up to now 5 concussion missiles and 8 railguns, leaning a little bit more towards concussion missiles as we're going to be doing a lot of fighting against pirate spaceports, I anticipate, and so that'll help knock them down a little bit faster. Now, the 86 firepower here, we had 40 on the last version of the patrol frigate. So that just gives you an idea of how much better these ships are going to be when we already have more than 2 to 1 the best military out of any of the empires out there. So we are really starting to put the other competition to shame when it comes to that. Now, on the Marine side, I also switched my priorities a little bit here because I'm going with more assault pods, again, 2 defense cannons, but more assault pods as compared to the Maxos blasters. I think we have plenty of those to knock down the enemy shields, and so really focusing on having a lot of ability to board enemy ships, and we shouldn't have to build quite as many Marine frigates now going forward as well. I'm just going to retrofit the ones we have and maybe build a few more and then see where we end up with all of that. And then on the command ship, we added a second tractor beam, second ion cannon, a bunch more defenses, etc. So they really are a very impressive ship, also fairly expensive, but they are not going to go down quickly against any type of attack. So with that in place, we are wanting to move down here to get colonized on Brax, of course. I also want to start doing some retrofitting bit by bit here. I've got, new spaceports going up, retrofitting going in both places. And if we look at the Akuro here quickly, there is the message I was talking about before. Insufficient strategic resources, slowing development and population growth, and they need to ship more in. Now, they were doing fine before, as we mentioned, but with the resources being taken for all the spaceport retrofitting, the freighters have not quite caught up yet. But that should happen before too much longer. So if we look at our fleets here, I want to, first of all, we take our Akuro security, the fleet that's in here, and I just want to gradually retrofit some of the ships here right in the system they are. I don't have to send them back home, but I just want to do a couple of them at a time until we get all of them upgraded to the new standard. So you can switch over, and you as well. And then I'll be a little bit more aggressive with this on the fleet that's in our home system. You can see we're still building some more of these, etc. But I'm just going to pop in here and take a look at what we have. I just want to gradually go through these. So we can simply set to the next tier. Nice to get the command ship done quickly, and I will go ahead and grab you. And a couple of these marine frigates. Then we'll come back and do some more in a bit. So onward to Brax. Okay, a new pirate empire has been discovered. Retrofitting a whole bunch of ships completed. Gradually making our way down here. Okay, we're under attack. Let's take a look at what's going on here. Okay, this is in Akuro, and who do we have? Okay, that's more of the Sinister Salvage. Now let's just take a look at their ships. Okay, size 230, firepower 30. So their escort's not horribly powerful. Oh, we've got more exploration that's happened, but also the Dervala Hive, a new rival empire. So we'll want to take a look at them pretty soon. And I think there they are, because they're Gazurians, which means they're very much similar to the Otranto Collective Bhaskara. They're not very reliable. They look like they're going to be pretty hostile to us. Let's take a look at where they rank in the grand scheme of things. Okay, fairly high up. They want to keep their empire's leader alive. Okay, well, we have potential for assassination missions possibly down the line then. Volcanic colonies, military ships, but we're kicking their butt in that, thankfully. Universal Hive Wonder, much like the Lava Palace Resort, is a late game discovery. And they want to spend the most time at war. Okay, so they are going to be another in the race we need to be careful of and tolerate, pretty much like the Otranto Collective. And we're discovering more Bhaskara colonies that we are not going to be concerned with anytime soon. Okay, a couple more exploration ships, and we're getting some retrofitting finished, so we should probably be doing some more of that soon. Better shields, better torpedoes. And of course, one of the reasons why I'm not really changing up any of the weapons, I want to revisit that once we get Tier 3 weapon research done, but we aren't quite there yet. Okay. You are under attack from pirates. In this, oh yeah, looks like we've got plenty of activity here. We've got the Akdar invaders, etc. So you're ranging far enough away that you're going to run into some trouble. We'll see whether or not you have any problems there or not, if you can escape that situation. Let's check in here now, as I think we're about to land. Yep. There's our colony ship, having just jumped in. Oh, we've got another bit of exploration to consider right over here. Keep on going. You're just doing the periphery, really, of the Shandar system. Okay. So the Sneaky Burden. Daunting Guardian. We continue on with our tasks. Well, I think I'm going to want you to perhaps just come back over this way. Oh, hello. Who are you? Sinister Salvage deciding to say hello, and they're being greeted appropriately by our ships. And we have colonized Brax, and they have joined our empire. Okay, so I want to take a quick look at that. So that's our third planet, and obviously we're going to want to do the usual reducing all of this, and we can see our message here about requiring more strategic resources. We're going to want to fill all of that up, and of course, we are going to want to immediately get our first spaceport going there. Got to find the right one. There it is. So all of that will transpire. So where do we want to go from here now that we have our third colony? And it looks like we're actually starting to grow out some. Well, we have a couple different alternatives. Right down here in Urkton, there's a marshy planet, which of course we can't colonize yet, but we've seen this before. I just want to dive in here. I think it's this one. Yep, that's the one that's got Laurel's fruit. It has the polymer. It has another, luxury resource, the carbon fiber, both of those crucial. And of course, we don't have a Megalos nut yet. I mean, all of that extremely vital. As we noted, one of the best planets to get in the galaxy. But it would have to stretch our military more to get there. I want to sort of gradually retrofit all of these ships once we get a spaceport up in Boothwell. All of that's going to take some time. So I want to wait and do that. Obviously, we want to get all of our ships retrofitted in a reasonable time frame. And then I want to do some more pirate hunting. I think it's time to get rid of the Savage Sun first and then strike out further. They're just too close to us. So if we look at our current pirate situation, they're starting to get some separation between the different groups. And we have four really that I think we should be keeping an eye on. One is the Fierce Security, who are far enough away that we haven't touched them. You can see 3,000 firepower. So they are well established. Thankfully not in conflict with them yet, but we want to watch out for that if it happens. Then there's the Savage Sun. Look at them, over 4,000, and they're mad at us, and they're just going to keep getting stronger, I think, being in that area where they are. They don't seem to have a lot of pirate rivals nearby. So I need to smack them down and get them away from us. And then we have the Lone Pirates, and they're gradually increasing, and they're going to be more of a thorn as we push off to the left here towards the Keterov Empires. And then finally the Sinister, nope, not them, the Sinister Salvage. There we go. And they still seem to be holding even, and we're gradually battling with them, but I don't think we're going to really do much with them until we discover where they are, which was actually a recent discovery over here that I think we got from maybe capturing one of their ships. So that area is, I mean, you can see they're, perhaps 3 hops away from Boothwell. That's why we're not seeing a lot of them there, and they seem more interested in this system than they do in Akuro. If we get much closer to them, though, I think we'll probably start to come into more conflict with them. Let's just take a quick look at their spaceport here, which is actually not strong at all. That kind of surprises me for how strong they are. Like, we've taken down stronger spaceports than this, so weird. But each pirate, of course, there are the different types of pirates, and they are going to take their different approaches. If we jump back in here, we haven't really talked a lot about this, but the Sinister Salvage are more smuggler type of pirates, whereas the Lone Pirates, they're raiders, and so each of them has their own style. Balanced raiders for the Savage Sun in terms of how much they're going to invest in their spaceports, how much they're going to invest in what types of ships, what sort of activities are they going to focus on the most. And so while it might not be that long of an expedition to come over here and knock them out, it probably also wouldn't gain us that much since we're not getting hit by their attacks too bad. And I just don't think that it's worth the long journey yet, but on the radar for sure. Now, the Black Market Cartel that was up here in Dreythus, they have their new system down here that we have discovered. And they haven't begun to, recover yet. So we don't have to worry about them, but they are out there as a consideration for the future. So overall, everything appears to be going well for the Akuro Commonwealth. There's going to be, obviously, more pirate fighting in the future once our fleet is ready to take on the Savage Sun. And our economic and technological advantages appear to be continuing to grow. The journey will continue soon. Until then, thanks for watching. Distant Worlds will return.